When I was 7 years old, in that school, I spilled over the school desk some India ink that I shared with a tiny girl. Made stamps. My teacher closed in very violently to punish one of us. For some reason, she chose her. She grabbed her tiny hand and raised her heavy plank. Terrified, I was unable to say that it was me. I had spilled the ink over the desk, the books, and papers. Because she loved me. With her sad black eyes, smoky smell, and resignation, she accepted the punishment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heavy strokes. She cried in silence. A blanket of shame covered me like the ink stained the desk. Permanently. It never occurred to me that a 7-year-old was a coward when facing a violent adult. This event shaped all the decisions I took about education for myself and 4 years ago for my newborn son, to whom I promised that school violence would never touch him. I am here to tell you that I rebelled against the school education. I became a teacher not once, but twice, to create a system that leaves children content, loving, and prepared to be the next generation that can change this world in a positive way. Let me tell you that at 12, I already knew that the factory school that was invented with the Industrial Revolution was unfair. The factory school is a place where we put 20 to 30 children of the same age learning the same thing at the same time. And we judge them and measure them and punish them if they cannot do it. I sometimes would rebel against the system. Here and then, I had some creative rebellion that this factory school would shut down under the morality that children are no more than tiny delinquents. Growing up, already hurt by the school system, and seeing my colleagues being hurt and left behind, I kept moving on because I had no other choice. But I never studied. So I was branded as a lazy kid. I moved on, fueled by an ability to understand things easily, by my love for books, and because I had a family with a good knowledge background. In some subjects, I was unable to do more than pass to the next school year. It didn't help that everybody was saying that I was not living up to my ability, or that I could do a bit more with my potential. I decided that I would never be a teacher. But I had some kind of ability for it. My grandfather once said, "This boy is going to be a teacher." I laughed at his words at the time. My 9th grade history teacher invited me to not come to her classes anymore. The reason was we had a discussion about the importance and the responsibility of Portugal in modern slavery. So I would sit outside, waving at my schoolmates and smiling. My 10th grade teacher, philosophy teacher, begged me to study at least once before a test. I didn't. But I did read the book that was the subject of the test. Discourse on the Method from Descartes. When he delivered the test back to us, I had the highest grade. He spared me no compliments. And he would have gone on, but the girl started crying. She told him that she studied the entire year. She really made an effort. And he only had praise for someone who could do it easily. Shame again. It took me years to review this event with different eyes. You see, education, real education, in a nutshell, is going to a very intense, emotional, philosophical, ethical, and data-gathering process. A process that should not control us or force us into paths we don't want. But because I didn't have guides, a system, I had to do it on my own, collecting all the cutting glass in order to make my own bottle of knowledge. One day, after working in the zoo, after becoming a clerk in the courtyard, after becoming a marionette actor, a translator, after writing for television and theater, after being an editor in a publishing company, I found myself a teacher. Teaching in a new system, a new professional system in a school in Alentejo, where I was more interested in the learning of my students than on grades, but overwhelmed with paperwork and the current mindset of the teachers in the current system, and worried with the feeling that I was teaching not what I thought it was important and I believed in, but what the system wanted me to teach. So I left. I emigrated. The Netherlands, Germany, Belgium. I became a team leader. I led my teams the same way I teach. They liked me. I thrived. The teams that I was leading improved. I studied the educational systems of these countries. Same thing. Factory schools, producing the same kind of people, worker consumers. I could see in them the shadow of their childhood education. And I wondered, how could we transcend the current educational system in order to manifest that a child is a whole human being, not an object in a system? But as we are all infected by our own education, it seemed an impossible task to embark on. Although I thought about movement, free play, nurturing teachers in order to do it. But my experiences shaped the method that I was slowly creating, the natural learning method. Children need a place that they feel safe and loved. And this is what I do. When children understand that I don't punish, that I target the action, not the person, they start flourishing. Together with art, movement, natural education, they give me back more love and better understanding. And this is the first pillar of this system. Love. It is obvious to me that different children have different learning speeds and need different approaches to learn. So, what I believe in is to give them the ability to choose the moment and the way they want to learn. And this is the second pillar of this education system. Different children, different learning speeds, different approaches. What I was not given, together with everything that school gave me, and it was mostly useless, was emotional interaction and emotional regulation. The ability to connect freely and fiercely, and without fear, with teachers, other adults, and peers. The ability to say no in a regulated way. Third pillar, emotional regulation and emotional interaction. Oh, sorry. And the last pillar, the fourth, is what I start seeing in the children that are with me. The differences, how they are different from each other, what I learn from one and from the other, what I can cross from a child to other, how can they start to understand that they are beautiful in their own way, in their differences, and how can they start loving the differences from others. And this is the fourth pillar and last one. Mindful acceptance of the self and of the other. You see, we as a species, we used to live in a continuum of existence where learning and living were mixed together, where children were in growth, but part of the community, where they were safe under the gaze of their parents, grandparents, uncles, and older siblings, but present, allowed to play, to participate, to collaborate, content with themselves. One day, I had this mother coming to my class. She told me that her 8-year-old boy that was with her was branded as hyperactive. She told me that she knew why. I was looking at him. I could see his gaze moving around, his hands unable to stop, touching each other. She said to me, when he was born, I didn't have my papers. In the hospital, after delivery, because she was not Portuguese, they took her baby from her for almost 1 hour. The time the father had to go home and back, he was alone. That's why it's like this, she said. I believed her. But looking at him, I told her that I was not sure he was hyperactive. I saw a restlessness in him that made everything more difficult. To help him, I cleared his desk. I took the chairs from it. I taped the books, the paper for drawing, his little box with pens and pencils, and I let him walk around. Some weeks later, he started calming down. His newfound abilities replacing this restlessness that he had. One day, I entered the class and he was sitting, drawing, calm, humming to himself and happy. My method believes that free play is essential for the learning and growth of a child. That parents should be present in the learning community. That children should play in nature and going back into the continuum. That behavior should be target, not the child. That the most academic subjects should be taught through projects chosen by the child. And that makes a child happy and complete and not part of a broken system. But as we all here are the children of the current education system, It might be that what I'm saying seems impossible to do because we are used to tests, grades, diplomas that allows us to do or not to do a certain task. You might think that this is not possible. Let me tell you this. Powerful machinery is coming. It will change very soon the landscape of what we do and what we are as human beings. I have no idea of how it's going to be life, work, and society for my children in 15 years. Will they need mathematics? Other languages? Learn to drive? Vote? I don't know. But I know that I want them to be strong and resilient. I want them to be happy. I want them to be generous and loving. I want them to be flexible. And I know a system that can help them in that will change possibly much more than an outdated educational system. What if you could imagine that instead of offering them new starts every 2 to 4 years, subjects not wanted, being judged every year, being anxious, being away from their loved ones, we did the opposite. We encouraged free play. We let them see what they want to see. We would let them come to us, to our working place. We would let them do the things they want to do. See other people do things that they love with dignity. I am quite certain that we would create a generation that would be more careful when they buy things, would love this planet in a way that we, children of the sanitized, closed classroom, cannot. And most of all, would see this new machinery that is coming with wiser eyes than we are seeing it. This talk was written without the help of AI. When I was 4 years old, during a family dinner, I asked my mother, "How are children born?" My mother promised me a book, an amazing one. I would walk around with it under my tiny arm, talking about the amazingness of insemination and how life spreads around everywhere. Imagine that when I was 7 years old and I stained that table with ink, I was under the protection of the natural learning method. To arrive here 20 years earlier. Thank you.